Many bright children grow up feeling stuck, disconnected, and completely alone. They were supposed to be ahead of everyone else, praised, admired, and told they were destined for greatness. But somewhere along the way, that belief turned into a burden. The validation they once thrived on became their greatest weakness. Now, many of these same kids, the ones who once stood out, are struggling as adults. They can't find motivation, they avoid risks, they hesitate to start new things, fearing failure. Worst of all, they can't explain why. On the outside, they seem just as capable as ever. But inside, there's a quiet, suffocating fear. What if I'm not as exceptional as I thought? Instead of growing, they get stuck, paralyzed by the very identity that once made them feel special. Because when your ego is built around being the smart one, every challenge feels like a threat. And rather than facing that discomfort, many simply withdraw, watching life happen to others while they stay on the sidelines. As children, identity tends to be simple. Kids latch onto a few defining traits and build their sense of self around them. Maybe they're the funny one, the artist, or the kid who loves dinosaurs. These labels help them navigate the world, but they're also limiting. One of the most powerful labels a child can receive is, "You're smart." That phrase sticks. It gets reinforced by teachers, parents, and classmates. It becomes more than just a compliment. It becomes an expectation. At first, it feels like a gift. Being smart means being admired, getting praise, and often, life feels like easy mode. They don't have to struggle as much. They grasp concepts quickly, and they stand out from their peers. But this creates a hidden trap. When kids are constantly praised for being smart, they aren't being rewarded for hard work. They're being rewarded for ease. They were celebrated when they solved a problem instantly, got an A without studying, understood something on the first try. Over time, this conditions a dangerous belief. If I'm smart, things should always be easy for me. And according to ego is the enemy, that's exactly where trouble starts. Because when something isn't easy, it doesn't just feel like a challenge, it feels like a threat to their entire identity. This belief quietly sabotages everything as they grow older. The moment something isn't easy, when they struggle, fail, or don't grasp something instantly, it doesn't just feel frustrating. It feels wrong. It feels like a threat to their very identity. They start thinking, if I'm supposed to be smart, then why am I struggling? And as ego is the enemy explains, ego isn't just arrogance. It's the silent force that makes us avoid discomfort, protect our image, and resist growth. Instead of leaning into difficulty, they start running from it. They won't raise their hand unless they're sure of the answer. They won't play games unless they know they'll win. They won't try new things because they're afraid of being bad at them. Slowly, their world shrinks. They cling to what they already know. They avoid uncertainty. Instead of embracing the process of learning, they protect the illusion of always being competent. And that's the real trap. While others experiment, fail, learn, and grow, they stay inside a comfort zone that gets smaller and smaller. The longer this lasts, the harder it is to break free. At some point, they realize they've built their entire sense of self around something fragile. They can't afford to fail. They can't afford to look stupid. They can't afford to threaten the image they've spent years protecting. So, they stall, and that's when the isolation begins. When growth stalls, connection follows. It's a truth that's often overlooked. When we become overly attached to our ego, specifically the idea that we should always be successful, always be the expert, our relationships with others become strained. Ego keeps us from stepping outside of our comfort zones. It prevents us from taking risks, learning from failure, or making mistakes in front of others. The result? We stop trying, and ultimately, we stop growing. In our youth, connection is formed through shared experiences, teamwork where you learn from others, the awkwardness of new beginnings when everyone's in the same boat, hard work toward a common goal. But when the ego starts to take charge, people begin to avoid these shared experiences. The fear of failure takes over. They avoid new challenges, avoiding things they might not excel at immediately, not joining a club because of the fear of being bad at it, skipping out on sports because it feels like too much of a gamble, avoiding group projects because they seem overwhelming, and as these experiences are passed by, they become isolated, physically, but also emotionally. But the need for connection remains, and when people stop engaging with others, they often turn to their ego to fill that void. They focus on intellectualizing social interactions instead of truly engaging with others. They analyze, observe, and run through mental simulations of conversations before they even happen. This creates a kind of cognitive empathy, a way to understand others without actually feeling what they're experiencing. It's efficient, but it's not real connection. They may seem to be engaging, even charismatic, but the truth is that their social interactions are exhausting. Instead of allowing themselves to simply be with others, they're always performing, always calculating. What should I say next? Am I saying the right thing? Are they judging me right now? To avoid failing at socializing, they pull back entirely. And that's when the loneliness starts to creep in. They're smart, right? So they should be able to figure this out, shouldn't they? But here's where ego steps in. Instead of acknowledging their disconnection, they apply intellect to emotional issues. They try to reason their way out of feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. They try to fix their self-esteem with logic, overanalyzing everything. But it doesn't work. The problem here is that intelligence is great for solving external problems, technical challenges, strategy, planning. But it's not built for solving internal struggles like the question, am I enough? That question can only be answered emotionally. And for many bright individuals, emotional growth often takes a backseat to intellectual pursuits. When they face emotional pain, they simply don't know how to process it. The pain, the loneliness, it becomes unbearable. That's when ego comes in with its final defense. I'm different from everyone else. It convinces them that the reason they don't fit in is because others aren't as smart as they are. It tells them, I don't relate to them because they can't understand me. I'm too deep for shallow relationships. It hurts less to convince themselves they're above others than to admit they're struggling. This defense shields them from the pain of loneliness, even if it only isolates them further. This is where the journey begins, the moment they realize their ego has been steering their choices, shaping their interactions. Recognizing this is the first step to breaking free from the cycle. So, if any part of this resonated with you, if you recognize yourself in these patterns or something clicked that you haven't been able to put into words before, leave a comment and let me know what stood out. Chances are, you're not the only one feeling this way, and sometimes naming the pattern is the first real step to breaking it. The good news? You can unlearn this. Let's talk about how to break free from this cycle in the next video. Until then, take care of your mind. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe.